Good morning. At Love Clark here. I didn't just wake up. It's been a few hours. I did not film the sunrise this morning. Didn't feel like getting out there. Uh, yeah. So I'm kind of sleepy today, and eyes are kind of red. Been tearing up. My grandma passed away last night, and so been kind of close to her, so having problems with that. But I wanted to get on here anyway and continue talking. Excuse me, about the fact that everybody keeps talking, and I know there's other people who have thought about this, you know, in the long run, but I'm thinking into the future. Everybody's talking about the effect that if they try to take all our guns away from us, that if they try to take our guns away, it's going to be a fight. Well, yeah, sure, it's going to be a fight, but I don't see us winning against the federal government if they bring in the United Nations armies or whatever. I just don't see us winning. That's everybody loses in that situation if it becomes like a civil war or a war in that nature where it's us against the government. And I know, people say, well, the odds were against us, back in the day when we fought the British to get our independence from that crown, from the crown over there. Well, that was a long time ago, and they did not have, I don't think they had as much equipment stacked up against them and an advanced military, and I think some of the people were just as well trained soldiers as see, the population is not as well trained. The regular population is not well trained as the military. So first of all, people coming at us with M16s and shit like that, and we got little 22s or something, we're not going to be much match against people like that in the worst case scenario. So what I want people to recognize too is the fact that no one's going to win that, okay? And people keep saying, well, England, that was a different, way different situation. Way different situation. Different time, different technology. We had people in our army that could train other people. People could say something like, well, the British Army, they were more sophisticated when they fought against us, and we still won. Yeah, but we had Americans that had been in the British Army and knew how to train and knew how to fight. So they had been trained, and plus they had their own militias, active militias, okay? Active militias that could be counted on. Do we really have that? We have some militias, but everyone in the mainstream world considers them crazy, and they're usually on the president's list of homegrown terrorists, but they're not non-Muslim ones, or whatever you want to call white terrorists in America. These people are going to see, if they come for our guns, we're just going to get slaughtered, because okay, back to the point of, they'll say, well, these people, when we fought against the British, they had militias that were active working militias. Everyone was trained and training, because they did not want to be caught off guard. They sacrificing enough, and they wanted to keep what they had. So that's what they had their militias for. But if the government, see, nowadays there ain't no militias like that. There's hardly any that's going to fight. It's not like, there is militias now, but it's not like it would have been back then, where it would have been every town would have had one everybody in the town would have been involved in it. You know, it would have been almost like a mandatory service to protect your little town or city, you know, that you had to maybe serve a couple nights every week at the fort, or whatever it was the case. But the point is, today it's totally different. You got lazy people up in America that don't want anything to do with learning how to defend themselves. They're brainwashed. But also, you ain't got enough people to teach them here fast enough, and you don't have the equipment here. So it's not like if we were to fight the federal government right now, say people got tired and decided to have a war against the federal government. If we were to have a war started, or say they came after our guns in it, and that's how it started. Compared to how it was during the revolutionary times, and compared to how it was today, with the mass majority of people being trained, we're massacred. Because guess what? You're taking on a trained army with all that special equipment against what? A civilization population that's half-assed with little 22 guns that they've never shot before, and their little pistols and shit. Okay? And most of them aren't trained in anything except for a few veterans, and they don't have time to coordinate training by that point. It's time to think about that, but here's where we get back to where it started at. But the real question is, what if they do end up peacefully somehow getting everyone to give up their guns? Okay? And they play it off like, and it's still part of a future plan, okay? And they play it off, and everyone's finally giving up their guns, and that seems all good. But instead of that being really our government taking us over, see, what they'll do is they'll pretend to push another false flag, and they'll let another country come in here. They could keep the population up that way, and still keep the hive, keep the worker bees going. See, they can act like, oh, everything's good in America. We've gotten rid of all of our guns, and then a couple of years later, a tragedy could happen, and you know, of course, the government could allow them to come in, false flag or whatever you want to call it, you know, Illuminati-controlled order to let them come in, and then someone like North Korea or China or Russia could come in here, and guess what? It would look like a total catastrophe, because guess if they come in, how much resistance are we going to have against them then? Without any weapons, if a foreign army does come into here and nobody's armed. Think about that. And the United States government would actually have been in on it, but just to allow their way of letting, you know, world control, New World Order, take more firm stance here. Think about that. If we're all disarmed, and someone comes in here, like other people says, I could kill a bad guy come and attack my family faster than I can call 911 and wait for the police to come and shoot somebody for me, if they're even going to do that, because they're not even obligated to protect us by what I've been being taught. Okay, they're not really even obligated to serve and protect. They're actually a corporate entity, the police department. I'm not talking about sheriffs. It's a totally different story. But I'm going to get off here because I think it went past my minutes. Okay, my time limit. And I just want people to think about that. You know, some foreign army does invade, and say there was a peaceable way to get us to give up all our guns. They could just let a foreign army come in and pretend like, it was an invasion, and actually they invited them in. And then we'd have no way to fight these people out. Okay, we'd have no chance. So, really have no chance to fight against the government. You don't have no chance in hell unless you start some militias and start training right now and making people aware. And start organizing. Get involved. Join the police department. Join the military or your local whatever, you know. But get involved, or you know, because you got to get ready. You got to get ready. And here's the question I brought up the other day: if I exercise my Second Amendment rights the proper way, is it gonna? It's even though it's all legal, I'm gonna still be killed or thrown in jail, or labeled a terrorist or non-loyal to the country. So why do we have the Second Amendment right if they are not going to let us practice it? And if by practicing it we're labeled the enemy or a criminal, or we're killed, by practicing our Second Amendment right, it kills us or throws us in prison, what good is that right for? What good is it? It's just phony then. Fake. I don't get it. Someone talk to me about this. It's frustrating.